It's day 20 of the hush money trial. Here's Trump arriving at court.
Well, thank you very much. Just to begin, the news on inflation it really is rampant. It's moving at a level like people have not seen. They don't seem to be able to cut it down. Biden has no control over what's happening. He started it with energy, and now it's taken on a life of its own. It's very sad. We'll get it fixed. I'd like to be out campaigning right now, but again, I'm going to be in here almost 5 weeks in court. They have no case. There's no crime. Every single legal expert, and I can say this again and again, and every time they come out, maybe at some point they'll come out and say, oh, we found something. But every single legal expert, Andy McCarthy, Jonathan Turley, Mark Levin, every one of them, Greg Jarrett, these are great talents. These are actually very brilliant guys, and they're not necessarily on my side historically over the years. But they're very talented people. They're legal scholars, highly respected. Every single person is saying there's no crime. There's no crime. It's a kangaroo court. There's never been anything like this that I've ever seen. Now, I had 2 other trials that were kangaroo courts also. It's stacked up. And hopefully appellate division will take care of those things because they're egregious. And the problem is that New York is really on trial itself. The whole world is watching. They're seeing what's happening. And you can't use conflicted judges. This is a conflicted judge, highly conflicted judge. And you just can't do that. You just cannot allow that to happen because you ruin the whole system. The whole system comes tumbling down. And New York, look, I love New York. This is where I grew up. I was born here. I grew up here. And I see what's happening with this judicial system. And it's just, they call it all kangaroos. And we just can't have it. And I think the appellate courts can take care of a lot of things, but this one shouldn't even get to an appellate court. This should be an easy ruling, and it should really be, and I think it would be great for Judge Marchand to rule from the bench and to terminate this witch hunt. And it needs it. It really needs decisiveness. Every single scholar says there's been no crime, he's done nothing wrong. And I'm fighting for 300 million people. I mean, I have no choice. It's not that I like doing this, sitting in an icebox all day for 7, 8, 9 hours. And it's a very cold room, I will tell you that. But I'm doing this because our country needs it. Our Constitution's under threat. Our country needs it. So here I am. I will be doing something in the morning and then probably coming back in the afternoon. And we'll be resting pretty quickly. Resting meaning resting the case. I won't be resting. I don't rest. I'd like to rest sometimes, but I don't get to rest. But we have a phenomenal case. We've won the case by any standard. Any other judge would have thrown this case out. Any other judge would have thrown this case out. And I think that Juan Merchan would do himself and do the state and the city a great service by doing what everybody knows should be done. And so we're going to go in. We'll have another little scrum in a little while, perhaps. It should end a little bit early today. We appreciate you suffering with us. Look, you've been with us for 5 weeks, and you see it. The crowds outside, we can't get, it's not a very big thing for us. We don't really care that much. But people want to get out there, and you have all police. The only people that are let out there is the radical left lunatics. And they put our people 4 or 5 blocks away. There are a lot of them, too. But I say that doesn't matter. What matters is what's going on in this courthouse. So thank you very much. We'll be back a little bit later. Thank you.
So why did you post that video about the unified right? How did that get on your website?
Why must you testify, Mr. Trump?
The day started with the final cross-examination of lawyer Robert Costello. We heard several objections from prosecutors during Robert Costello's testimony. They said that Trump lawyer Emil Bove's questioning went beyond the scope of the case. We also heard several of those objections when Costello, who gave Michael Cohen legal advice in 2018, began testifying. Justice Merchan sustained several of those objections, but he also heard quite a debate between prosecutors and Trump's legal team regarding what Costello should be allowed to testify about. Justice Merchan decided to limit Costello's testimony in several ways to ensure the questioning focused on the issues at the heart of the case. Several times today, the questioning seemed to wander off topic. For example, Bove asked Costello whether he really did pressure Cohen not to cooperate with prosecutors. "I did not," Costello said in response. "Do lawyers really ever control their clients?" Bove asked. Prosecutors lodged an objection, which was sustained. After Robert Costello left the stand, there are no further witnesses. Trump's lawyer, Todd Blanche, then announced that the defense rests. And with that, Donald Trump's defense team rested its case, and most notably, Trump will not testify in his own defense, despite repeatedly telling the press and his supporters that he wanted to testify. With that, the jury was sent home and given their usual strict instructions not to talk about the case with anyone or read any news on it. Lawyers on both sides then had complex legal discussions with Justice Merchan, mainly on how he will instruct the jury before they retire for their verdict deliberations. Closing statements will be next Tuesday. Wednesday will be jury instruction and deliberation. Justice Merchan will instruct jurors about charges and evidence before they deliberate on the verdict, with a possible verdict on either Thursday or Friday. Here's Trump leaving court.
Thank you very much. Jonathan Turley just came out with a statement that he thinks that this case is collapsing of its own weight. This case is a disgrace to our country, to the state of New York. Never seen anything like it. Stephen Calabresi, it's an outrage that the district attorney brought this case and that the judge did not declare it a mistrial. Very highly respected. Stephen Calabresi. He says an outrage that the district attorney brought this case and the judge did not declare a mistrial. And everybody's saying it in one form or another. Andy McCarthy. What they have, this kind of a case, is that the federal prosecutors at my old office, the Southern District of New York, wouldn't take it in the first place. They would not take it. The Southern District turned down this case. And the case that Cy Vance looked at and wouldn't take it, and the case that Bragg himself looked at in 2022 and shut it down. And this is what we've been wasting all this time on. Alan Dershowitz, I've observed and participated in trials throughout the world. I have seen justice and injustice in China, Russia, Ukraine, England, France, Italy, Israel, as well as in nearly 40 or 50 states. But in my 60 years as a lawyer and law professor, I have never seen a spectacle such as the one I observed sitting in the front row of the courthouse. He's never seen anything like it. He's been a great lawyer, a great legal scholar for years. He's never seen anything like it. It's all politics, said Leo Terrell. If anyone tells you otherwise, they're not a lawyer. Let me just tell you that the White House is the person, or the group, whatever. They're the one trying this case. You heard who was doing all the talking. Representative from the White House. Just recently. This is all about Biden. Can't campaign, so he's trying to injure his opponent. They're trying to hurt the opponent because they can't win it fair and square. It's lawfare. There are a lot of terms for it. It's a third world country way of campaigning. Such a disgrace. So sad to see what's happened to our country. Our country's going to hell under Biden. But look at the person. Why don't you look at the person that argued their case, almost the entire case? Look at the person. Where did he come from? Unbelievable. He came from Biden. And I don't know if it's Biden because I don't think Biden has any idea what the hell's happening. But it's from the fascists that circle in the Oval Office. They circle the Resolute desk, the beautiful Resolute desk that's being stinked up. Byron York, campaign finance law is extraordinarily complicated. Back in 2013, in an oral argument, Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia said, this campaign and finance law is so intricate that I can't figure it out. And what he's referring to is the fact that we had a legal expert, the #1 expert on campaign finance law, who wasn't allowed to participate. He wasn't allowed to participate. They said he can't be a witness unless you want to just talk about what's the definition of the law. You couldn't talk to him about anything else. Greg Jarrett, this trial is now officially a sad and pathetic joke. It's a crime. Mershon and Bragg are the head clowns. It should be patently obvious to all that the leading Republican candidate for president is on trial, not for what he has done, but for who he is. Trump is the potential nemesis of the Democrats. By the way, I've just gotten out of court. I haven't even seen this until I'm reading it to you now for the first time. I haven't even looked it over. I'm just giving it to you because everybody says the same thing. Bragg loathes him. Oh, I'm so surprised. And so does Mershon, loathes me. The judge hates Donald Trump. Just take a look. Take a look at him. Take a look at where he comes from. He can't stand Donald Trump. He's doing everything in his power. I understand that I don't even have any reliance on counsel. I can't rely on this guy was counsel. I don't have any reliance on counsel. I might be the only one ever that doesn't have reliance on counsel. We have so many bad decisions. This guy, everything we ask for, we get nothing. So he says, Biden despises Trump, Bragg loves him, and so does Mershon, but it's all the same group, who has taken it upon himself to serve up as the co-prosecutor in the case. This is from the great Greg Jarrett, very talented guy. It's a persecution, not a prosecution of any legitimacy. Bragg has abused his position of power and spent tens of millions of dollars of taxpayer dollars. Do you see how many people from his office over there, while people are being mugged and killed outside? Never saw anything like it in my life. Nobody has. Bragg has abused his position of power and spent tens of millions of dollars to denigrate an electoral enemy. I'm the enemy, but to denigrate an electoral enemy to benefit his opponent, President Joe Biden, commonly known as Crooked Joe. The DA falsely asserts that Trump unlawfully tried to influence the 2016 election, but it is Bragg who is guilty of interfering in the 2024 election. They're doing it in 2024 just like they did in 2020. Can you imagine, with all of the wrongdoing that we found and that you know existed, they're coming after me for election interference? That's the classic of all. That's the classic of all. Tom Fitton, the sham Democrat Party prosecution of Trump may be collapsing in New York, but the process is the punishment as Trump is held a political hostage for the weeks in this kangaroo court proceeding in the middle of a presidential election. The show trial has already compromised the election. They're already cheating on the election with this, and you don't know what's happening because the judge is so biased, so corrupt. He's so corrupt, and he's so conflicted that you never know how these things. I'd rather have honest judges. But a corrupt judge will far surpass a great case for us. When you have a corrupt judge, lots of bad things happen. Katie Cherowski, this is such an embarrassment of a showing of prosecution that I imagine the judge wouldn't grant the motion to dismiss the case. You can't imagine it. There has been no evidence. There's no evidence, and there's no crime. There's no crime. Everybody says there's no crime. Where's the crime? And these are all your top legal scholars. Doug Schoen and Carly Cooperman are finding, and he's a very big Democrat, I don't even know what he's going to say, I'm reading it now for the first time, are finding that large pluralities of outright majorities of Americans perceive these indictments as politically motivated should be a warning sign to the Democrats. These are Democrats that wrote it, Doug Schoen. John Yoo, I'm not sure there isn't going to be backfire on prosecution having a judge who's so aggressively on their side. He is so aggressively on their side, but he has to be. He has to be. He has to report. He has to be. Joe Concha, good guy, starting to think this whole lawfare strategy wasn't a good strategy at all, and is having the inverse effect that Democrats had hoped for. So the Democrats thought they were going to take me out with the lawfare, and it's so bad that at least I have a voice where I can talk to you, the press. In many cases, the fake news, but even the fake news has to cover it. Bill O'Reilly, the state of New York, and the image of the state of New York is in place of freedom and fairness is in tatters. Mike Davis, this is obviously a political hit against Trump, as well as a blatant election interference, and is totally unconstitutional. The American people see this trial as a complete sham. Well, so far they have, because I'm leading crooked Joe Biden by a lot. They thought they could take me out with this. And don't forget, I have like 8 of them going. This is one. I have others going too, and we're doing very well in them. So, and this goes on and on. There's not one person, legal scholar, that think this is of merit. Now, I haven't reviewed everything, but I can see none. The ones when you hear Mark Levin, likewise, a phenomenal statement. A sham, a disgrace to America. All great legal scholars. Andy McCarthy, many documents, many papers written by Andy McCarthy, somebody I respect. But he's tough and he's legit. And he says, this is terrible what's going on. It's terrible what's happening to our country. Mark Thiessen wrote likewise. Terrible what's happening to our country. It's an embarrassment, and it's so sad. And I appreciate you listening, but I just watched something go in there, and you have to look at the man that did all the talking. Who's representing? He wasn't in the DA's office. He wasn't in there. He came in for one reason. And where did he come from? He came from Washington, D.C., the White House and the DOJ. And he argued the case. That means it's Biden. That means it's election interference by Sleepy Joe, our dumb as a rock president, who's destroying our country with the borders and destroying our country with the worst economy, worst inflation, who allowed Russia to go in to attack Ukraine, who allowed Israel to be attacked, and now he's not even helping Israel. And Jewish people that go for Biden and the Democrats, they should have their head examined. Thank you very much.
So why are you going to Bronx?
Mr. Trump, were you referring to Dr. Costello? Were you referring to the assistant district attorney?
Mr. President, why did you testify?
That's it for day 20. If you want more updates on this trial, then I'd appreciate it if you could subscribe to my channel.